Hello, I'm Scott, the breathing guy. I will train you to locate, generate, activate core key energy in physical activity. This video series is the art of putting exploration. It's a way of looking. I'm going to explore the different ways people putt that you can find yours. Remember, putting is an art. Everyone's different. You have to find what works best for you in the sensory, for your judgment, and repeatability in putting itself. Putting has always been one of the great challenges in golf. It's a great challenge, and you have to be basically an artist in the sense that you create your own putting form. All other swings are artistically done, but putting is that you have to find what works for you. And I'm going to explore the different ways of putting. And how I do that is I'm going to deal with lower body movement, how the upper body is supposed to be, and hands. And it's all based on footwork. What footwork do you want to use works best for you to get that putter to come head through in a pendulum way accurately and repeatably. The softness, the fluidity of necessary to judge the distance, it is really intricate. And that's what makes it an art. To have someone that can really putt well is poetry in motion one way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to explore 3 foot positions that you can build your putting art off of. And each one affects what the upper body. So the lower body supports what the upper body, then the hands. All for the putter face, all about the putter, and feel how to learn the feel for when you hit the ball, how far it moves in relationship to the green. But I'm just doing swing mechanic, putter mechanics, what are the different ways, and you figure out, put it together for you. Now, the first one I'm going to deal with is a closed stance putter form. This is popularized way back by one of the greatest putters. He was always considered one of the great putters, Bobby Locke, and you can go on YouTube and see, but he has everyone considered him to be the better. And what he did was really fascinating. No one else does that even today. But he developed to a fine art, and it felt good to him because of twisting it. And he did what's called a closed stance. What that means is, see, right now my feet are straight across. He puts his foot back like this, basically about where the ball is. This toe is here, ball here. And then he puts the ball up right even with the inside foot. That's his footwork right there. And the reason why this really works in one way to get a pendulum action is because when you come through, my feet are like this. Now notice the distance apart. That makes a real difference. You don't want to be far, you want to be here. And I'll explain that with the next video footwork, we're straight ahead. Because farther apart has other muscle reaction, sensations and limitation. So what he did, there's 2 ways to do this. You can come back and then come through. So with this, what's natural is this. There's also the other way is like this, straight and back and forth. But you like this right here, it's like really easy. Really easy. But it's the idea of the upper body, and I'll go into that. But the idea of a closed stance putting position. And watch what my hips on this one. He goes back and watch my hip turn through. He turned his hip through even. So the closed stance has a whole different feeling. If it adapts to you, you adapt to it to make that upper body putter come around the way you want. So one putt, he comes around like this, and then when he comes through, arm perfectly straight and comes through. He actually bends his knee through. So really understanding the closed stance form of putting affects the upper body and how do you do it. But he was one of the best. And then have that left arm straight, wrist cocked, squeeze the ring finger and the little finger together, and all the other fingers are soft. Put the thumb up on top, over to the side, like that. That locks in place. And then if you want, on there. So the whole idea here that you could actually just turn your hips through if you want. No wrist action whatsoever. He did several, but his stance was always this way, and he developed it several ways. Sometimes he just went straight back, sometimes he went around, and then he came through. Depends on the distance he wants to get. It's beautiful. He was the top putter for his time, even by Stacks today. He was always considered. But developing that feel, that movement feel, you're either going to move your hips or you're going to move your shoulders or your wrists. Those are the three areas you're going to move when you putt. More hips, you want to be either stable, or you want the shoulders to rock, or you can do wrists. Understanding, I said, developing your putter form begins from the lower body, upper body, and hands. Those are 3 points that you have to bring together, and you will, once you learn it, to have a repeatability. But I also advocate for the hands, always just use, if you want your arm straight, if the left arm is straight, you only use the little finger, ringer. Now, if your elbow is bent, that's another story. That's a whole nother way of using your fingers to amplify the force within that form of your hands. So like I said, I go through those 3 areas. But do you understand? And try it sometime. Just do an open stance. Have this foot here, and hold on, and just like put the ball basically a little bit on the outside of your foot, and just try to go back. So it's a very even here. You just like let it flow. Let the ball flow in. It's a very pendulum. What it is, even when you come around, because of the stance, you're coming around, you go straight. The whole idea here is, even if you come around, what's natural? Your arm's going like this. It opens up that left arm. Always remember, what is the purpose of the front arm is to guide the putter head. What is the function of the backhand is to strike the ball. Now, you do have overlap where instead of like this, you're up on top. That way, you're actually making the front hand more dynamic as the striking force, and the supporting force is the backhand. So the way you position it, when I get into hands, I'll get into that. But on the bobby lock process of close, it's really enjoyable. There's several ways to do a round action, but make sure the ball, if you're going to do a round action, is even with your foot. So when you go around, it comes through. And the whole idea there is this. Excuse me. But anyway, understand the closed stance produces a whole idea of swinging through, and you have to position your ball in a different position. So we're striking the ball. You don't want to put it in the middle, and that way it's going to go way off. But if you put it right, even with your toes or even like this, you can even go back and like that. So there's a lot of ways in this way, and the whole idea is what's natural with that left arm is to go this action with this way. So you can come around like this, and it's natural to go that way. But the position of the ball is the key element for your repeatability, and attach up to the upper body. So basically, it's your hips or very little rocking back and forth like that for this type of form, all based on footwork involved. So there's a couple other cluing. Would you get? Don't have enough balls here to show you something else. I was thinking there's another way you can do this to open it up. It's based on, if you want to say, when you're 20 years old, you can do all types of things with your body and not have any contradictions. When you're a little older, like past 50 or all, you might have to find different ways so you don't, I call it a hiccup, where you're flowing and all of a sudden something tightens up in your back or your shoulders, and it makes you go off. So finding your footwork that permits you to have that flow where you don't kink up, I call it. And it's based on, I can go into the physiology of that, why that happens, especially when you're older, because you get tighter in certain parts of the body with age, and then how do you deal with it? If you can't soften it up, you got to adjust your form to accommodate where it doesn't interfere with your putting. That's all. And the other thing you have to do always from the hips is bend at the hip with your back straight like that, and back head up, and you do it like that really good, it's really basically fairly involved. So really, that's the other thing about the lower body. I don't care if you're in a closed stance, even stance, open stance, always tilt from here and have weight 50-50. Don't ever tilt where your glutes go backwards. That puts you on the heel. What happens when you're on your heel, it tightens your back muscles. So your sense of movement is far less. So the balance on your feet is important. Otherwise, if you put too much pressure on the back, your heel, it actually tightens your back up and it creates internal resistance so you don't flow. You'll definitely overdo it, or it's like all of a sudden you get a hiccup. But the more your back is straight, your head is straight up there, chin sort of like even, the more you can create less internal tension. You won't, how can I say, have restriction in the flowing movement. The whole idea of a flowing movement, if you get that down, you can start making adjustments on, how to read or anything like that. But this is all physical. You get a pro how to read a course or how, but if you can't physically putt in a certain sensory way where you feel the weight of the club head, hit it in the ball so you can judge your distance, it's for naught, because you'll always be a little off, and it's a matter of finding good form where your back doesn't tighten up because you're on your heels or you're tilting back forward like this. That really makes you, but if you tilt here, make a pendulum action like this and just go. You're at least I'm consistent on that, but involved. So really appreciate all the advantages of one, a closed stance. My next video is going to be an even stance. A closed stance, feet just natural, bend at the tilt, don't bend, tilt. 50-50 balance on both feet. I'm telling you, if you go on your heel, it will restrict your back from moving in any putt. And it's almost like you let this flow down. Let me get my aiming right. And there, that's cool. So this is the closed stance form, lower body involved, by Bobby Locke. You can look him up on YouTube, the best golfer, and see if this works for you. That's all. But this is all lower body. When I get up to our body, I'll go into more detail this in the hands and how I explain that. So this is the breathing guy. This is the art of the art of putting, exploration, lower body, closed stance.